Now that we have a better understanding of why advertising and sport are so interwoven, let's talk about the how we can actually make this happen. And we use this term or this theoretical underpinning called relationship marketing. Now, relationship marketing, you can actually divide this into two different subcategories for the purpose of this course. One is you're looking at sponsorships and endorsements, so the relationship between ancillary products and brands that want to be a part of the sport marketing mix. And then the other side is how you can use relationship marketing to increase team tickets and increase your audience engagement. Today, we're going to actually focus on the second part of that. We're going to look at only the ticket sales and this audience portion of this. First, let's talk about why relationship marketing is probably a better function of engaging your fans than traditional marketing mix. And you may be familiar with these terms if you've ever taken a marketing class. And these are the 4 Ps, which always talk about price, product, promotion, and place. Well, there's a couple of reasons why the 4 Ps, in my opinion and others, are not applicable in the new marketing mix. First, let's talk about why price is actually one of those hard variables to control in this marketing mix. We all know that the club seats are going to be more expensive than the nosebleed sections. But you see, as an organization, we really only have limited control of how these pricing structures happen. And there's not one universal way that we can approach and price out things. Things based on the team success, on fan attendance, geography, and what part of the season we're at, weather. So there's a lot of variables that can really dictate this. Also, the organization can set their ticket price, but the secondary market has absolute control over it. Places like StubHub and SeatGeek are buying these seats in bulk, and they're selling them at for a different cost. So really, in an organization, there's only so much I can do to control this price, and there's so many variables that can factor. Why even waste the time trying to adjust that and use that as part of my marketing mix? Secondly, it's an indefinable product. Now, I know you may be thinking I'm crazy. We all know what sport is. You know it when you see it. But there's some nuance to consider. For example, do you consider WWE sport? Some would say yes. Some would say no, it's television. Also, sport isn't just taking place in the stadiums anymore. People are consuming these via live television. Some are streaming them. We have pregame, we have postgame, we have 24-hour news cycles, and we actually have the event themselves. So how are we actually going to classify what sport is and what sport is not? Is it just what's happening while the time clock is on, or is it all the ancillary offerings and things that happen with the other media? And to that sense is part 3, promotion. It's hard to control promotion because so much of what we talk about with new media is out of the organization's control. Users are putting stuff out there on social media and fan bases, and alumni are controlling what's happening and trying to gather their own watching parties for events and teams. So really, there's a limited amount of what I can do is from a marketing perspective, and so much of what's happening is recycled through the mass media. It's talked about in the pregame. We can control the on-field product, but then afterwards, there's going to be post-game analysis. There's going to be television shows that are dedicated to talking about the game. There's going to be newspapers and radio shows the next day that are talking about what happened and what should or should not have happened. So really, we kind of, as an organization, it's hard to promote. And then lastly, place. This is simultaneously, and it's happening everywhere. This kind of goes back to the indefinable product. What's happening in the stands is somewhat the same as what's happening on television, but there are a lot of differences that we can't control from the way consumers watching the game at home versus the way consumers watching in our stands. Also, there's people that are watching the game while they're talking about it on Twitter, and you bring in the question of, well, what are they really watching? The screen, or are they getting all their updates from Twitter? And at what point do we actually control what's happening on the Twitter and social media? So you see, the 4 Ps are really quite antiquated when it comes to talking about the relationship between fans and an organization. And that's why we like to use this idea of relationship marketing, which is at its source is about attracting, maintaining, and enhancing customer relationships. You are the organization, and this is focused on cooperation and interaction with your consumers, your targets, your brand. Relationship marketing is about brand loyalty and not just a one-time transaction. Now, in sport, you can see why that would be important. Because if you have fans that are really dedicated to it and they're really loyal to your team, that when negative things happen, the fans are going to take it in stride, or they may even come to your defense and try to defend your team when you're attacked. The other thing is relationship marketing is the product may change year to year. You can't always rely on the performance. There's a lot of variables that you can't control. A coach may get involved with this scandal. A star player may get hurt and may keep the team from getting into the playoffs, and they may lose to a rival. There can be upsets that happen in sports all the time. So if you're just doing a one-to-one transaction, you are unable to ride those lows with those highs. So we want to develop a relationship so that when our team is losing and we have a losing season, that we know that you're still going to be supporting us, that you're going to buy our stuff, you're going to come to our next games, next season, and you're going to be an advocate for our fans. So it's about building a relationship, not just looking at them as a transaction of a one-time come to our game and buy a ticket. Relationship and marketing, it's important for building fans because it develops a psychological attachment. You want your fan base to start saying, we won, we won, we won. And when your team loses, you want your highly identified fans to say, yeah, we could have played better. Also, having a good relationship marketing increases product familiarity. The more engaged a fan is with the team, the more going to be familiar with it. Meaning they know who the coaches, they know who the teams are, they know the rituals, they know what makes their team distinct, they know what makes their team prestigious. So you want to try to find ways that keep the consumer coming back so they know everything about the team. This way, the team is not just happening for that 60 minutes on the field. What's happening is that team is part of that person's life. And lastly, it decreases risk reduction. Look, every marketing principle says that if someone trusts the product, that they'll go ahead and engage with. That's why consumer reviews are so important when you shop on things like Amazon. You want to try to reduce risk reduction, meaning if you come to our ballpark, you know exactly what you're going to get. We actually have this sort of, in marketing, we talk about a funnel. And here, this is the same thing. It's a funnel. It's just inverted for this. But at the bottom of this, we have compliance. This is where people are actually, hey, I'll check out your stadium and I'll go and I'll see what the fans are doing. The next, we get into identification. This is where at this level, fans are starting to have a shared value and a shared image that they see the team as a branch of themselves. They don't mind telling people that they're associated with it. They may talk about what they're doing, or they may actually plan their viewing or their weekend behaviors on what their team is doing. So they identify with this team. And then lastly, the tip of the funnel is internalization. And this is where the fan really becomes identified with it, highly identified. That the team's wins feel like that individual's wins and the team losses feel detrimental to their own self. This is where that you will do anything you can to make sure that you're at that game, or that you're making sure that all your friends and family are also aware of being fans of the game. So how can we build from compliance to internalization? Well, a couple strategies. Number one, you need to develop strategies to permit interaction from the moment they buy a ticket to the end of the event. The WWE does a great job of interacting with its fans. When the WWE comes to a city for a Monday Night Raw airing, they're actually there the Sunday before, and they're engaging with fans, and they do meet and greets with the fans. WrestleMania, they do a huge week long before WrestleMania, their marquee event, where they're engaging with fans. And that they don't feel like you're just giving them money to give you a ticket, but they're giving you access to be part of this event, make you feel like you're actually contributing to the overall success or failure of the event. And then after the event's over, they're giving fans opportunities to then go engage and take their photos and meet and greet. So even if you're in stadiums, trying to set up fan booths and trying to find ways to engage with the fan, even just help them find their seats or find out when the next games or the next meet and greet is going to happen. So having information around for the fans, so making sure you're facilitating, giving them opportunities to talk to you face to face. Also, if you really want to move someone from compliance to internalization, you need to promote the history, the rituals, and the traditions of the team. The New Zealand All Blacks, for example, they perform a haka before each match, and that the fans expect to see this, and they feel like they're part of this. So looking at the fan base, think about fans that a team that you're a fan of. Is there something unique that they do? Is there a certain chant or a certain yell? Is there a certain way that they talk about their rivals? Is there certain traditions that they do? Or maybe your family have developed as part of it. So looking for those opportunities. And then also with this new media that we talked about in part one, it's about building trust and reciprocity. It's about listening to your fans. We have this parasocial relationship with them. They think they know us. Well, the least we can do is listen to them and hear what they say. Perhaps they can find ways in improving. When I was in Chicago, I was meeting with the Chicago White Sox vice president of consumer relations, and he talked about this the story of the 50-cent hot dog that actually did more for their brand than any marketing plan they had that year. There was a fan up in the stands, and he dropped his hot dog, and he tweeted about it. And it wasn't that he was trying to get anything. He was talking about how disappointed he was that he dropped this hot dog he had just got. Well, it just so happens that one of the interns was playing on Twitter and said, hey, wait, we should do something for this person. So they tweeted back from their organization account, said, where are you sitting? And the fan told them, and they came and brought the guy a couple of extra free hot dogs. He then went on to tweet about how great the organization was, and other people retweeted and started liking this. And what this did is it made the organization feel like they really cared about their fans. That probably did more, that 50 cent cost of that hot dog probably did more for their goodwill than any promotion that they could have aired on television. So it's important that we listen to fans and engage with them when we can. And one of the ways we can do it is through social media and listening. And we can use new media to work with these fans. If you're an organization, you want to get into sport marketing, it's important that you understand how we classify this new media. Number one, media now is portable. We need to engage with brand fans where they are, and because of things like smartphones and message boards, we can engage with them almost 24/7 now. Number two, ubiquity. We need to be able to make content across all platforms. Like I said earlier, every company is now a media company. Every organization should make sure that they're putting stuff that's for Twitter, for Facebook, for Instagram, that corresponds with what's happening on ESPN or Fox Sports and what's happening in the newspaper. So making sure our content can be accessed across all platforms by our fans and so they have opportunities to engage. Again, it's about shared socialization and it's about repeated exposure. And lastly, interactivity. We want to focus on building the brand through engagement. We want to make sure that if the fan is doing something, whether they're on site or they're on their phone, that we're finding opportunities to say that we support them as a fan and that we want them to be a part of our overall network. And you want to build a brand ambassador. Find fans and your super fans out there in the network and let them speak for it. We all know the power of word of mouth. So let people who are brand ambassadors or team ambassadors do a lot of the work for you. Help them recruit and gather and organize. Give them tools to host watching parties. Give them tools to get their friends and other people involved with the organization. And that can be really low cost and it actually makes them feel great because it feels like they are part of the team and you can get them to do a lot of work for you without a lot of cost.